Welcome everyone to another Creator Hangout with Kickstarter, a weekly series of live Q&As with creators that have run successful from our community. My name is John D'Amato, I'm part of the design and tech community here at Kickstarter, and we help creators with their projects. I'd like to welcome today Lisa Fetterman, the CEO and co-founder of Nomiku. I'd like to remind everybody that we will be taking questions live here on Facebook and Twitter, and also on Twitter via Kickstarter tips. So Lisa, welcome. It is a pleasure to see you again. Lisa and I have known each other for a while. How you doing?
I see you did. I'm doing really well.
Awesome. So Lisa, you have run two very successful campaigns with us. You are Kickstarter OG. You've done some remarkably interesting things with hardware in the kitchen. Tell our community a little bit about your first project, how you ended up launching it, and what that was like for you.
Well, a little bit of background is that me and Abe, my husband and I, we're makers. And we originally started our project as a DIY open source sous vide kit. We traveled all the way across the United States to maker spaces and sold hundreds of these kits, to the point where we amassed this huge listserv. And people were emailing me every day going like, hey, why don't you just make the real thing to plug into the wall? And Abe and I were like, I guess I'll move to China now. So we moved to China for 3 months to join this accelerator program called Accelerator. We come back 1 week before our wedding. We beg our wedding videographers, like, please, can you help us make a Kickstarter video? We put it up on Kickstarter because it was one most funded project at the time in the food category.
Well, what do you think resonated at that time with the Kickstarter community in your project? Because you just mentioned yourself that it was one of the most well-funded projects at the time. Mm-hmm. What was it about what you were doing that you feel really resonated with everyone?
I think it was 3 things.
Yeah.
One, we already had the community to deploy.
Interesting.
That were excited.
Was that the maker community?
The maker community, right. So we physically met with these people who were passionate about sous vide. I would go on Twitter and search hashtag sous vide. And if they were near to my house, I would say, can I drive to you and make you a sous vide machine?
Well, you would literally drive over to somebody's house who had bought the kit and make the kit for them?
How I started was I didn't even have a kit. I just asked them to buy materials on Amazon, and I would assemble it for them for free.
So in addition to, before the Kickstarter campaign, before the actual product, in addition to doing a DIY kit and doing maker fairs, before that, you were traveling and meeting people that were interested in sous vide as an idea and helping them cook in their house with them. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Face to face. I'm still in contact with them. We email each other all the time. We like each other's things on Facebook, and we laugh about it. We're like, look how far we've come.
So you can trace backers of your projects all the way to those early days when you were just kind of hanging out with them and cooking in their kitchen.
Never lost touch.
That's amazing. So as you started working on the first campaign, you mentioned that you moved to China. Tell us a little bit about what went into thinking that was the right decision for you and Abe.
Well, we had a lot of experience teaching classes at makerspaces, and we knew from hanging out with people at makerspaces, this was the only route to go. Mm-hmm. And there is a magical place called Shenzhen where they have open air markets filled with electronics. The way that families sell oranges and grapes at farmers markets here in the United States, mm-hmm. people sell electronics in Shenzhen. Yeah. And we're like, we have to go check it out.
Yeah. And in terms of the engineering and the electrical engineering, the mechanical engineering, that stuff, are either you or Abe mechanical or electrical engineers?
No, we're not.
Okay, so that's a really interesting challenge. Tell us a little bit about how you managed to really develop such a sophisticated product. I understand that you were in Shenzhen, but despite that, how did you guys manage to develop a sophisticated product, a high quality product with other people?
The big thing was that we went to maker spaces and it was highly collaborative. We could take classes on how to lay out a PCB board, which we did. And also, Abe is familiar with hardware in the past. I do have a slight overarching advantage in that Abe is a classic genius. He has his plasma physics degree from Princeton.
So get yourself a classic genius.
Yeah, classic. So his PhD is in nuclear fusion, mm-hmm. right? Less than 10 people a year graduate from his program. extremely prestigious. We were watching like an Iron Man movie, and then it was the second Iron Man movie. They had blueprints, and he was like, "Oh, I know that blueprint. Oh, I know that blueprint." I was like, "Dang, you can make a sous vide machine."
So obviously backgrounds matter, but you're also in a place where like during the course of your time in Shenzhen, you were working with the engineers at Hacks, a really great program that supports a lot of Kickstarter creators. And what was that process like? What did you learn? What did you end up outsourcing? What did you have to like do yourselves?
We outsourced a little bit of CAD because we've never done CAD before.
Mm-hmm.
That was important to outsource.
And is this CAD in relation to the inner workings of mechanical engineering, or just the idea of the enclosures?
Everything.
Okay, so CAD was like somebody else. How did you validate it? How did you make sure that it was good quality work?
We went through Hackcelerator and we asked them.
Okay.
Because there's already a layer of trust there.
So you're talking about now, even at that point, you had two different communities. You had your foodies and the people that were kind of like making sure that you were doing some user-centered design around the product, but you also had a smaller, more core and technical community at Hacks, like dozens of people that you could ask a lot of technical questions around as you went through the product development cycle.
Yes. And people were so we were the first class at Hacks.
Yeah.
People were psyched. At that time,
yeah.
It was the first time that Pebble went on Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
And they were at the tail end of their campaign, and they came to our Hacks class to say hi.
That's so interesting, yeah.
I asked Eric straight up, how you do? Like, how did you do this? It's incredible. Yeah. And he told me, it takes a long time to make a video. You spend a week writing a script. Mm-hmm. You spend a week shooting. You spend 2 weeks editing it.
Uh-huh.
And I just didn't know that. I was just like, oh, you mean I have to take a week to write a script? That seems crazy. That seemed crazy. I thought I could just go riff in front of a camera. And
during that preparation, during those, let's say that, actually, how long did you prepare for the campaign? Eric said you have to spend a lot of time. How much time do you think you spent preparing for the campaign itself?
2 months.
2 months, okay. So you spent 2 months, you worked on a script for a long time. You probably spent some time writing out the page, adding photography. What was the thing that you spent time on that you didn't expect would take that long, but actually did? Ooh, definitely the video. Definitely the video. That was the biggest surprise. I've seen the video, obviously. I think it's wonderful. Within the challenges and kind of like the wonderful thing of creating a video, what are your recommendations on how to stay genuine and just transmit a message that is not like a commercial or something that like would relate to something that you can buy in a store? How do you convey the creative nature of what you're doing in the early stages of it? Visually, we try to show the type of people that we were. Like in our first video, it has Abe and I. It establishes our relationship to each other, and it shows what we do on the weekend, which is pick out awesome food. Mm-hmm. Right? We didn't want to go so deep into it, but we did want to give visual cues of who we were. So that's important. And I think a lot of the effective videos have a personal story, kind of like a TED Talk. The most awesome TED Talks are people who are like, I lost a leg and I learned this. And then you're just like, this touched my life forever. That's totally true. You're absolutely right. And that's one of the things that we always tell people too, which is to just like make a personal connection, open up a little bit, be a little vulnerable to the world. Your first campaign, you ended up with, I believe, around 3,000 backers. Oh, no, 2,000 backers. What was it like taking those 2,000 backers and communicating with them during the campaign, and then managing that communication process all the way through to delivery of the original product? Extremely strenuous. You have to be extremely organized and make sure everybody is listened to. Through all Kickstarter projects, you could run into areas where you miscommunicate or people are not happy about a delay, for instance. That's the most common problem. And the thing is, like, they're actually not upset with you. Mm-hmm. They just want to know what's going on. Yeah, it's a difficult thing to communicate, but it seems like from what I'm hearing, like just like by being direct and honest, you're able to really like surpass that difficulty. Yeah, you can only tell the truth and save yourself a lot of trouble. Cool. We actually have a great question from Stephanie Miller from New Food Economy. So Stephanie asks, We are big fans of Lisa and Nomiku, but curious about how you make a complex process like sous vide accessible to consumers. How can you convert them to even try it? Great question, and really like the core of like what you guys do.
I think a big part of it is explaining it clearly. So the thing about sous vide is that it's actually not that weird. It is already accepted. It is already fully accepted on a commercial level. Like Chipotle sous vides all their meats, and then the British Royal Navy uses it completely. Every single top restaurant in the world definitely has a sous vide machine. Many of them Namiku's.
Wow, that's awesome. So maybe it's about like explaining that you're already eating this food in a more kind of commercial restaurant setting, and educating them, dispelling any misconceptions or fears that they might have around this, and inviting them in to try it for themselves since they've already tried it.
Exactly. I mean, it doesn't sound that scalable, me explaining to people, but it's the way I've always done it. And look how far we've come.
Right. And you know, I've also noticed that you have like an incredible presence on Twitter and on other social media, and it's ongoing and almost like relentless, and like your ability to post interesting things like continuously. Like I follow you on a couple of different mediums, and there's never a moment where I say, oh, I don't want to look at this one. Like I'm always like super curious. So for example, you took an amazing trip to Tokyo. Please tell us about that trip. Tell us like what was most interesting about it in terms of like the food scene and like what you ate that like you thought was the best.
I ate every single thing I could possibly eat in Tokyo. Like Tokyo, if you love food, if like food is like your main interest, you know, you have to go to Japan. You have to go to Japan because food there is immaculate. It is varied. And I just love to see like how temperature control could really help people cook Japanese food.
Yeah.
You know, we have a few on Tender, our software app, our iOS and Android app, Chawamushi, and like I went to every restaurant. I told everybody about Nomiku. I went to some restaurants that had Nomiku already because it's a Japanese name, Nomikui.
Oh, that's right. Tell us about that actually. Give us the etymology of the name.
So we had a hard time naming ourselves. Our DIY open source kit is called Lower East Kitchen. That was easy. And the URL wasn't taken for some crazy reason. We're like, this is us forever. And then we went to our business program and they were like, no.
Tell us about the business program for a second. I think we missed that part of like your trajectory and your narrative.
Hackcelerator.
Oh, you mean Hacks? Okay. I thought there might have been like another program too. Oh, but you did do another program, and let's talk about that because you went from, so let's kind of review so far. Makerspaces, lots of conversations, lots of quitting jobs, and becoming a company in Shenzhen that eventually launches a project, fulfills it, and then you do something new, which is you decide, let's do it again. Tell us about that moment, that decision of like, let's do it again, and what happened after that.
Let's do everything that we ever effing wanted to do was the second round, because we, you know, to the point of somebody's first question, how do you get the sous vide word out there? Right. We're really successful in that the first time. And that surprised a lot of people, myself included. That was our MVP, you know, it was our minimum viable product. And then we were like, well, if we could build whatever we wanted, that would be the ultimate machine for people to do this process. What would it be? And I was like, it would be Wi-Fi connected. People will be able to do like one tap cooking. They could look at exactly what they want to cook and just tap on it and go.
How did your original backers from your first campaign help you think through what it would be like to develop the second one? This is a fascinating thing because you're effectively doing product development in public, especially as you transition from the first one with like 2,000 people using it to a second product. What is that process like? How does the community contribute towards your product development?
Our first one actually had over 8,000 people using it by the time we did our second product. So, and we got a ton of feedback. This is our new one. We heard from people that they didn't like the power box, so we put it inside. The power box of our Nomiku one was outside.
Right. Oh, it's really, so you put the power on the inside? That's interesting.
this time around. And then people...
And that was direct feedback from the community.
That was direct feedback from the community.
Oh,
We're like, what's up with this power box? We made a clip to the front of your vessel instead of the back, so there would be no steam.
And what about the app and the social interactions like around Wi-Fi?
I got so many emails, phone calls. I mean, I put my regular phone number on the website at first, which I realized was a mistake. But I got so many phone calls. People were asking, what time and temperature is steak? What time and temperature is chicken? And I would actually, again, go to people's houses and help them cook for the first time.
Again, amazing.
And so then I was like, what if I could make myself into a software program where you could just tap and get exactly that information?
So Tender, your app is also just basically having Lisa in your life.
Yes.
Then I have to download it. Does the app require the Nomiku, or can you also just use it independently?
You can use it independently. You can use it with our competitors. It connects with our competitors.
Really? That's interesting. Tell us about that decision. Like, how did you decide to make it connect to your competitors?
Well, notice that it's called Tender. It's not called Nomiku. We want this to be a community, which it is. We're building a community there of people. We want to be hardware agnostic. I really don't care if you buy a Nomiku or if you buy something that's similar. Like, what matters to me is that you're cooking sous vide. That's what always mattered to me in the beginning. That you use perfect temperature control. So this will help you do that.
That's interesting. It's fascinating because you always hear in the hardware world that the new generation of hardware projects and the hardware revolution is really about software. You're saying something different, which I find incredibly fascinating. It's software that's empowered and really driven by the community that uses it. Yes,
community is the most important thing for me. Ever since the beginning. How we got funded, community. Right. How we sell units, community.
And like you walk the walk too. You talk to them, you visit them in their houses. Like it's not just like referring to customers as community. Like you're actually engaging with them and learning from them and like taking their feedback and like helping them use your product.
This is my purpose in life.
That's incredible. This is a good time to remind everybody out there that's watching and listening that you can ask us questions on Facebook and on Twitter via @KickstarterTips. So for the second one, you were also part of Y Combinator, a fabled accelerator incubator organization in the Bay Area. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Y Combinator kicks butt when it comes to software.
Tell us.
Yeah, they have Airbnb came out of it, Docker. These are all $1 billion companies based around software. And we were really new to software. We needed help. And we wanted to talk to like Paul Buchheit, the guy who made Gmail. We wanted to talk to, and he's a Y Combinator partner, right? We want to talk to like Gary Tan, who I just followed on Twitter. And he worked for Palantir. He created this blogging platform. These are people who are extreme operators in software. We wanted to know how we can be like them.
Right. And what's like a great lesson that you feel that you learned from them that you wanted to kind of like convey to people that are thinking about their first projects, either in software or hardware?
I think a big thing that I learned from Y Combinator that I always take with me was something that validated something that I already do. They keep saying, do things that don't scale.
You're definitely doing that.
And I do that all the time, like going to somebody's house one-on-one that doesn't scale, right? But it really helps you learn your customer. It really helps you build better products.
I'm gonna relay a question from one of our viewers, Stephanie Miller again, who asks, what is the most meaningful way to build community? Because I feel you're in the process of answering that. So let's kind of go back to that. What is the most meaningful way to build community? Of all the ways that you do it, what's the part that you say, this actually means something to me? I go home afterwards and like, it just like, it feels great.
If I actually become friends with that person, actual friendship is community to me. It's not like, oh, I know you, I know you, I know you. It's like, oh, hey, Stephanie Miller, what's up, girl? I got you. They're selling Girl Scout cookies again. I know you like Thin Mints.
That's
You know what I'm
awesome.
saying?
That's really fun. And so I know that, so I feel very much the same way that like, you know, one of like the greatest boons of like being a part of Kickstarter and being in this position has been to like make incredible new friends like yourself over the last few years. But I'm curious, because you must run into the same problems that I have, which is that like, you want to make sure that you're staying in touch with everybody, that like you remember like what everybody's doing and like what everybody's up to. What kind of tools do you use day to day to get that done?
Facebook.
Really? Tell us. Yeah.
I'm a Facebook fiend, dude. You know this about me.
What are like power tips that like you have for Facebook?
As soon as I feel an inkling of a friendship with somebody, like, oh, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. I friend them on Facebook. I have their face next to their freaking name. I look at them. I follow them. And people like that, actually. You know, people joke around and say, oh, Lisa, I stalked you on Facebook. But really, like, people are just trying to show each other what they're about on social media.
Right. That's incredibly powerful. You're right. Yeah.
So it's really useful. Something that I think I want to tell everybody that's watching is that we are actually very best friends, John.
Yeah, we're absolutely,
We actually go way deep.
Totally. I forgot to mention this, that like I came to Kickstarter from MakerBot, but the first time that I met you was at Maker Faire when you were selling the original kits. That's the first time that I met you and Abe, and I bought one of the kits. I never built it. And sometimes that's how things go with like maker kits, but I bought one and like I remember like years later when I was in Kickstarter, I'm like, of course, this makes sense. Lisa and I had like such similar trajectories from the maker world into the Kickstarter world, and that's like such an interesting trajectory where people start making things and then sharing them and then selling kits all the way to being at CES, for example. You guys have had that trajectory, and it's been amazing watching you guys do that over the last like 4 years.
Well, thank you. Vice versa. Kickstarter is a big deal, big deal.
You know, it's interesting that you say that. Obviously, like it's been a huge like help for you, but I know that you also spend a lot of time being one of our ambassadors out in the world, talking to other creators to be, other creator alumni. Tell us a little bit what it's like to be such like a successful and visible part of our community out in the world. What is that aspect of your world like?
I get a ton of emails every day to help people on their Kickstarter projects. And who am I to say no? I have to say yes. So I made a class on Brit & Co. Where you can just spend like $35. I spent weeks and weeks and weeks making it with them. And you'll learn everything that you could possibly know about Kickstarting from that class.
That's awesome. With your second project, because this is a question that I always want to ask repeat creators. When you launched your second project, what was the most important thing or like a couple of things that you did differently than the first one that you really learned?
I didn't use my wedding videographers again.
Who did you use?
I used Sprinkle Lab in Oakland.
Cool, Sprinkle Lab, great.
A local video people.
And you know, this is a question that comes up a lot, and I answer it in a few different ways, but people always say like, I feel the need to spend a substantial amount of money on my video. What's your take on that?
I did spend money on my video.
Yeah. Okay.
On my second video.
Yeah, okay. And it was substantially different and qualitatively better than the first one. Would you go back in time and do the same thing for your first one, or do you look at that first one?
The first one was freaking awesome.
Okay, see, that's the thing, right? Like I always tell people, like there's different ways to do this, and like if you don't have like the money to spare for it, like you shouldn't have to like make sacrifices for it. You can shoot it on anything as long as it feels genuine.
As long as it feels genuine and that you really take time to think about it. You can't wing it.
Yeah.
So we spent 2 months on this campaign as well. Most people ask me, a top question that I get is, should I hire a PR agency?
Should you hire a PR agency, Lisa Fetterman?
No.
Tell me about that.
Because PR agencies, it takes them at least 3 months to understand you, your product, and who to pitch. That's way too long.
Right.
So you need to just do it yourself. Just do it yourself. Find Google articles that are similar products to yours, and then find the byline of the person, follow them on Twitter, tweet at them. I have this thing I'm launching on Kickstarter. Would you like a demo?
Now, so I agree, but I'm also going to add that it's really great when you want to reach out to like a specific journalist to like really understand like who they are, kind of like what motivates them, what drives them. Try to become friendly with them before you kind of hit them up and you're like, I'm launching something.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't feel transactional. Like,
yeah, I agree.
But I'm totally with you. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have to know who they are. It's just the same thing as building the community part.
Right. Like if it's going to be easier to ask a journalist to kind of like take an interest in what you're doing if you friended them on Facebook because you met them at an event in which like you spoke, and then
Don't friend people without meeting them face to face. It's great.
Oh God, of course not. That is like social media 101.
Well, you don't know. I mean, I was overzealous my first time.
Uh-huh.
You know, and I was like, I want you to be my friend. I want you to be my friend.
I mean, I'm still waiting for Prince to accept my French request. That's like a whole other thing. We have one last question from Stephanie Miller, and this is a really nice one to close on. Stephanie says, you've had such an amazing product and business journey. What skills did you have to build, find, and invent? And I like the notion of inventing a skill in order to move from food meal kits to software. What an incredible way to sum that up. From food meal kits all the way to software. What skills did you build and invent?
You have to get skills to pay the bills. The learning curve is incredibly high, and I'm here.
So you feel that like you're still kind of like growing on a lot of your skills. What do you today? What's the thing that you're doing today that like is really helping you out that you're learning?
Just being open to learning. You've got to like not rest on your laurels. You have to, and this is the great thing about Kickstarter backers is that you never feel safe. You know, you never feel like, oh, this is done. I never feel done. I'm always like waking up before my alarm, being like.
So how many people work at Nomiku now?
13.
13 people. That's awesome. So so you're the CEO. What's Abe's role?
Abe is the CTO.
Abe is the CTO. Okay.
The Chief Technology Officer.
And CEO of Nomiku, what's like the biggest challenge of running a 13-person organization, and what's the most satisfying aspect of running a team like this?
Same answer, communication.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to communicate with everybody every day. I love talking to people. I love doing this kind of stuff. So it's second nature to me. But the thing is, like, I have to keep communication open. Absolutely. And that is difficult, especially like when I'm just trying to figure stuff out for myself. And I have to tell people I don't have this figured out, but this is what's happening. And then they're just like, yeah, I want to balance things out. What I've realized from this is I'd rather be a leader than a boss. I can't always tell you what to do because sometimes I actually don't know what to do yet. So I need to talk with you. And that puts me in a vulnerable state a lot of the times to just be like, I just don't know. And I don't like to say that. Totally. But I'm becoming okay with it, getting there.
Totally. We are reaching the end of our session. Did you have any parting notes, any parting advice, any parting thoughts?
Kickstarter is just the beginning.
That is absolutely true.
It is literally a kickstart.
Thank you. Lisa, you are not just a leader, you are also totally boss.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. This was wonderful. I'm looking forward to seeing you in San Francisco next time I'm there. Please drop by, and hopefully maybe we can even ask you to cook for us or cook with us. Teach us how to cook the next time you're here.
It's going down.
Bye, Lisa. Thank you, everybody, for watching us.